You, please stand up, Zina said into the microphone, her bridal smile sharp enough to cut through the music. The front row is for family. Somebody should remove the help before guests start thinking we have no order here. The hall froze, yet phones stayed lifted. Gold chairs glittered. White flowers leaned over expensive tables. Kello's friends stared through dark glasses, amused by disgrace they did not understand. Tarin looked at the sister she had raised with cracked hands and unpaid sleep. She did not blink. She did not beg. She only smoothed her wrapper and answered, "Zina, thank you. Now everybody knows where you placed me." In one crowded wedding hall, Zina had publicly thrown away the woman who had fed her, trained her, protected her, and paid her way through school while working as a house help. But her fatal mistake was thinking Tarin had come carrying only pain. The guests expected tears. They waited for shouting, maybe a collapse near the cake, maybe a poor relative dragging shame across the polished floor. Tarin gave them nothing. One usher touched her elbow, another pointed toward the side exit. Tarin rose slowly, head high, face calm, eyes clear. Every step away from the family table looked like defeat to the people recording. Yet beneath that calm face sat 8 months of documents, dates, messages, receipts, school records, and quiet truth. Zina thought she had removed a problem from the front row. The reckoning had already chosen its quiet route through her unlocked phone. She had only given Justice a microphone. Tarin had become a live-in house help at 19, not because she lacked dreams, but because poverty had stood at her door demanding payment in advance. Their mother was gone. Their father was alive, charming, useless, always promising tomorrow while today starved quietly. So Tarin carried the load. She entered a wealthy home with one small bag, 2 wrappers, and a heart already older than her body. In that house, she learned to wake before dawn, sleep after midnight, answer gently when insulted, and swallow tiredness like medicine. Zina was 14 then, brilliant and hungry for escape. She could solve schoolwork quickly and laugh as if hardship were only passing by. Tarin looked at her younger sister and saw a door that might open for both of them. Tarin thought education could buy Zina safety, dignity, respect, and a different ending. That was the beginning of Tarin's sacrifice, though she did not call it sacrifice at first. She called it love. Every morning, Tarin scrubbed floors so clean they reflected a life she could not enter. She washed plates heavy with leftovers, ironed uniforms for children who complained about schools Zina prayed to attend, and cooked meals whose names sounded richer than her monthly wages. At night, after Madame Noria's household finally slept, Tarin sat in the servants' quarters with a rechargeable lamp. Her feet ached, her back burned. Still, she called Zina. "Bring your literature note," she would say, forcing energy into her voice. Sometimes Zina laughed. "Sister, you sound tired." "Tired people can still teach," Tarin replied. "Open the book." She sent school fees, transport money, exam money, uniform money, hostel deposits, handout money, project money, and those sudden charges schools created when parents were already bleeding. When Madame Noria's children threw away workbooks because a cover was torn, Tarin rescued the useful pages and mailed them to Zina. When her own shoes split, she pinned them and sent the money meant for replacement. She kept every receipt in a biscuit tin, not for repayment, but to remind herself that love had weight, dates, real costs, and witnesses in ink. She missed weddings, birthdays, friendly visits, small pleasures, and the ordinary freedom of youth. Men came near, saw her burden, and drifted away. Tarin did not chase them. Zina's future felt more urgent than romance. The day Zina passed her final exams, Tarin cried in the laundry area, hiding behind wet bedsheets so nobody would ask questions. Over the phone, Zina screamed with joy. "I told you," Tarin whispered. "You will go far." Zina answered, "I will never forget you. One day you will stop washing plates for people." Tarin believed her because faith is easy when love is still wearing innocence. When Zina gained admission into a private college with a partial scholarship, Tarin covered the rest. Registration, hostel, textbooks, association dues, printing, data, meals, even a ridiculous departmental sweater Zina insisted was compulsory. Each payment left Tarin thinner, but prouder. She did not know she was training more than a student. She was teaching Zina that Tarin's pain could be extended, borrowed against, delayed, and expected again. By Zina's third year, the city had changed around them. Respect began to wear perfume. Success needed lighting. That was when Zina met Kile. Kile looked expensive before anyone asked where the money came from. He had a neat beard, heavy watch, smooth voice, and the patience of a man who knew people mistook slowness for wisdom. He posted luxury dinners, charity visits, speeches, and captions about purpose. Zina was dazzled. At first, Tarin was happy. Zina sounded softer on the phone, full of restaurants, events, and plans. She said Kelly made her feel seen. Tarin wanted to bless it, but worry sat beside her hope. Men like Kelly did not always see people. Sometimes they measured usefulness. The first wound came at Zina's graduation dinner. Tarin arrived in her best dress, holding a bracelet bought after 3 months of saving. The room smelled of money and borrowed accents. Kila's friends laughed loudly near a flower wall, while guests took videos of everything except the truth. Zina saw Tarin, paused, and walked over wearing a tight smile. "Tarin," she said softly, "tonight, just flow with the room." "What does that mean?" Tarin asked. "If anyone asks, you are someone from home. Someone from home. Not my sister, not a helper of destiny, not the woman whose wages carried her." Later, when a guest praised Zina's rise and asked how she managed it, Zina lifted her chin and said, "Honestly, I built myself." Tarin kept smiling. Public pain was expensive, and she could not afford another bill. On the bus home, the bracelet box sat unopened in her bag. She told herself Zina was under pressure, in love, performing for people who worshipped polish. But respect had left the room before Tarin did. Some betrayals do not begin with shouting. They begin when someone changes your title in public and expects you to clap for their progress. Have you ever lifted a person only for that person to become ashamed of the hands that carried them? If you have seen this in a family, a workplace, or a friendship, you already understand Tarin's wound. The problem was not only disrespect, it was erased. Zina wanted Tarin's sacrifice, not Tarin's presence. She wanted the result, not the history. If this lesson feels close to home, like this video, leave a comment saying whether Tarin should have confronted Zina that night, and subscribe for stories with truth, consequence, and hard-earned wisdom. Because Zina's denial was only the surface. Her new life was hiding a crime. After graduation, Zina and Kelly launched a foundation for vulnerable girls. The branding was beautiful. Emotional videos, soft piano, classroom visits, neat uniforms, branded bags, gentle captions about changing lives. Donors loved it. Companies reposted it. Politicians smiled beside children whose names they never learned. Because Tarin had lived the kind of hardship they were selling as inspiration, Zina called her. "We need authentic cases," Zina said. "Girls who truly need help. You know communities better." Tarin ignored the sting inside that phrase and helped. She connected 2 schoolgirls whose fees were overdue. She brought the details of a widow struggling with 3 children. She used her off days to visit schools, collect fee structures, and comfort mothers who thought rescue had finally arrived. Those mothers trusted Tarin because hunger recognizes honest footsteps before polished speeches arrive. For a short while, Tarin felt proud. Maybe Zina had not forgotten everything. Maybe success had bent her, not broken her. Soon, phone calls began disturbing that hope. One mother called in a low voice. "They announced my daughter's sponsorship online, but the school says nothing has been paid." A bursar quietly showed Tarin the account records. No transfer, no receipt. Only a public announcement with applause attached. Another girl appeared in foundation material as fully supported, yet she had received only a backpack, sanitary pads, and a camera session. Her school balance remained untouched. Tarin confronted Zina in private. "These children are still waiting," Tarin said. "Why announce payment before payment is made?" Zina sighed like honesty had inconvenienced her. "Tarin, you don't understand how organizations work. Funds move in phases. Stop thinking village style." Village style became her new name for truth. Tarin might have withdrawn quietly, but Kelly called days later, voice sweet enough to alarm her. "We want to formalize your support role," he said. "Send your ID, bank details, and sign a consent form for back-end compliance." The word sounded official, but Tarin heard danger underneath. Her father had used that same honeyed tone whenever rent money had vanished. She told Kelly, "I will think about it." That night, sleep refused her. By morning, Tarin stopped hoping and started checking. People underestimated Tarin because she cleaned houses. That was their mistake. A house help learns systems. She learns which drawer hides receipts, which visitor means debt, which smile is rehearsed, which apology is a delay tactic, and how wealthy disorder hides under scented candles. Tarin did not confront Zina again. She collected proof. She saved public scholarship claims. She compared them with school records. She kept voice notes, donor posts, unpaid fee balances, consent forms, vendor names, and beneficiary lists. She noticed names repeated under different campaigns. She found students announced as fully sponsored who had never met the foundation. Some beneficiaries did not exist. Ghost beneficiaries. That was no mistake. Zina and Kelly were collecting donations for struggling girls, paying little or nothing, and pushing the rest through lifestyle costs, false admin fees, and friendly vendors linked to Kelly's circle. The worst discovery nearly emptied Tarin's chest. One false profile carried details from old documents she had once given Zina for a grant application. Her own identity had become raw material. That was when grief hardened into discipline. Her anger learned discipline, and discipline gave her anger a chair. At a community documentation center, Tarin met Mosi. He worked with legal aid records and had the rare grace of helping without making noise. He noticed her stacks of papers one rainy evening. "You arrange pain like evidence," he said. Tarin almost smiled. "Tears do not survive audits." "Paper does," Mosi replied. He taught her order, date beside claim, source beside copy, witness note beside document, public statement beside account record. Originals separate. Digital copies are safe. No angry messages, no threats, no careless confrontations. Over months, trust grew between them quietly. Tea during long evenings, roasted corn at wet bus stops, walks where silence did not feel empty. Mosi never told her family was family. He understood that blood could still hold a knife. Tarin learned the rule that saved her. Document before confrontation. Confrontation warns the guilty. Documentation protects the innocent. 8 months after Tarin began gathering proof, Zina's wedding invitation arrived. Tarin stared at it and laughed once, without joy. By then, sponsors were already asking hard questions. Schools had confirmed gaps. Tarin also knew Zina had been calling her a former staff member who grew too attached. 3 days before the wedding, a voice note reached Tarin by mistake. Zina was speaking to her bridal team. "If Tarin comes to act familiar, handle it quickly," Zina said. "Kelly says our story must look clean. We cannot have people thinking I came from that kind of mess." That kind of mess. Tarin listened once, saved it, and dressed for the wedding anyway. Not to beg, not to fight, to witness. So when Zina humiliated her before guests, Tarin understood the performance. She let the ushers lead her out. No tears, no shouting, no broken plates. Outside, under generator noise and wedding lights, she opened her phone and sent one final email. Subject, additional supporting documents. Mosi waited in a taxi nearby. When Tarin entered, he asked, "Are you okay?" She looked back at the glowing hall. "I am clear," she said. The collapse did not arrive with thunder. It came through emails, audits, account reviews, and people suddenly learning how to answer calls carefully. On Monday, one corporate sponsor suspended pending support and requested a forensic review. By Wednesday, school records confirmed several public scholarship claims had no matching payments. By Friday, bank compliance flagged strange transfers from foundation accounts to vendors linked with Kelly's circle. A digital investigation page published a detailed report about charity branding scams, fake beneficiaries, unpaid school fees, reused documents, and children displayed for donor sympathy without proper support. Tarin's name stayed protected. Her evidence did not need applause. Truth moved slowly, but it did not stop. Donors demanded audits, event partners removed foundation logos, Kelly's friends deleted posts at midnight and released statements full of panic dressed as grammar. One blamed accounting, another claimed he only helped publicity. Kelly tried to appear calm online, but silence spread around him like harmattan dust. Zina called Tarin 17 times in one day. Tarin answered the 18th. "They are lying," Zina cried. "Kelly handled most of it. I was overwhelmed." You know my heart. Tarin listened until the crying became a strategy. When you used my documents, she asked, was that your heart too? Silence entered the call. Zina changed weapons, mother, family, memory, mercy. How could Tarin shame her? Did Tarin want her marriage destroyed? Tarin's voice remained low. I did not destroy you, Zina. I only stopped protecting what you did. Zina whispered. You ruined me. No, Tarin said. I introduced you to the truth without makeup. People called Tarin's revenge astonishing because Zina and Kelly fell from their polished platform. That was not the astonishing part. The astonishing part was what survived. Some donor funds were recovered. Not everything. Greed always eats before shame arrives. Still, enough remained to create an education trust with checks. Because Tarin's records were clear, she was invited to help design the screening process. The house help Zina mocked became part of the system that replaced their charity. Tarin insisted on direct school confirmation before approval. No child's image could be used without guardian consent. No single person could control both story and money. Every payment needed dual oversight. Every promise needed proof. The first approved beneficiary was the daughter of a domestic worker who wanted to study nursing. When Tarin handed over the confirmation letter, her fingers trembled. Years earlier, she had trained one girl and watched entitlement turn brilliance into a weapon. Now she helped another girl through structure, dignity, and truth. Pain had become protection. Humiliation had become policy. So remember this, never be ashamed of humble beginnings. Be ashamed of escaping them only to despise the hands that pulled you forward. Keep records. Guard your documents. Question emotional campaigns that fear verification. If someone humiliates you publicly, do not rush to entertain the crowd with your pain. Silence can be a strategy. A woman with patience, evidence, and nothing left to prove is dangerous. Zina wanted to erase the hands that built her, but life revealed the fingerprints. Like, comment, share this lesson, and subscribe to Stories by Marshall.